Chapter 1171. Emolienne blinked as she smiled at the little fellow. Xiao Mu glanced at him and nodded her small head in confusion. His silly look was truly too amusing. Emolienne hugged her and lowered his head, burying his face in her hair. His body trembled as he chuckled softly. When Huifeng, who was crouching on the roof, saw this, he involuntarily rolled his eyes and thought, "Your Highness, quickly pick up your moral integrity. Jojo is too oily, don't wipe it on my face." Emolienne helplessly pulled down her small hand and wiped the little fellow's face with a brocade handkerchief. Suddenly, they heard Xiao Yao's earth-shattering voice outside the door. "Her Majesty the Queen has arrived. Commandery Princess An has also come." Xiao 11Z, who was standing next to the door, was nearly intimidated by Xiao Yao's loud voice. The Queen had been supported by Green Mammy all the way here. When she heard this, she paused and looked suspiciously at Xiao Yao, who was shouting at the top of her lungs. "Your master is inside, so why are you standing outside the door? Are you on the lookout?" Xiao Yao really wanted to slap herself. Why did she say that for no reason? She had to be on the lookout in case Her Majesty the Queen came. She really freaking came this time. The crisp sound of a plate clattering came from inside. Xiao 11Z quickly turned around and ran inside with small, quick steps. He hastily curtsied and shouted, oh no, Your Highness, Her Majesty the Queen has come." "So it's not good for this Empress to come?" Empress Zhao glared at Xiao 11Z sternly. Xiao 11Z's legs turned to jelly as he crawled toward the Crown Prince's feet. This servant misspoke. 1 minute ago, when His Highness the Crown Prince, who was fooling around with his wife, heard Xiao Yao shout, his hand trembled, and the prawn he was about to stuff into the little fellow's mouth almost fell to the ground. Darling Xiao hurriedly stuck out her small tongue and bit the prawn into her mouth. She chewed twice and swallowed it. The Crown Prince hurriedly took the handkerchief and hurriedly wiped his little wife's mouth and hands. Within a minute, he tidied himself up slightly and pulled his wife up. Queen Zhao crossed the tall threshold of the Eastern Palace's bedchamber in a short while and led a group of palace maids and nannies inside. At a glance, he saw his son greeting him with a grin. "Mother, why are you here?" Empress Zhao frowned slightly and glanced at her son. "Muhu heard that your little crown princess was found, so I came to see her." Emolienne hurriedly pulled her hand behind her back and tugged at Little Blockhead's little hand. Abba walked to his side in a daze and glanced at the group of women in front of him in confusion. She glanced over and felt that all the palace maids looked the same. An was standing at the front of the row of royal maids beside Empress Zhao, retreating half a step to show her respect. Xiao Qiao, that child, also regarded An as a royal maid, and her gaze brushed past her face. On the other hand, An seized the opportunity to scrutinize her. With this look, a faint melancholy surfaced in her heart. This little crown princess in front of her looked a bit younger, but her looks were exceptionally refined. She couldn't compare to her. She couldn't compare at all. "Jojo, this is Mother Queen. Her name is Mother Queen, so call her Mother Queen." The Crown Prince poked fun at his wife in a small voice. As a result, our dear Arbor stiffly called out to Empress Zhao, "Mother Queen." "Empress Zhao, MHM." Empress Zhao responded. Chapter 1172. Although this little fellow's tone was stiff, she had at least called her Royal Mother. Compared to that aloof, Your Majesty the Queen, with a stoic face, she was a bit more pleasing to the eye now. Xiao Yao, who was standing on the side like a candle, quickly lowered her head, her shoulders trembling slightly. Emolienne turned his handsome face and winked at his wifey with a smile. "Many thanks for Royal Mother's concern. Jojo is doing quite well. Due to her long seclusion in the Mystic Beast Forest's secret realm, she still needs to recuperate after coming back. After a few days, when her body is better, this son will bring Jojo to visit Grandmother and Royal Mother." Empress Zhao nodded upon hearing this. On the side, Ian commented with a smile, "I heard that Miss Chow's party came out of the Mystic Beast Forest's secret realm early this time. I wonder what happened." The Crown Prince looked up and swept her an indifferent glance. Upon seeing this, Ian's heart sank slightly, but she still maintained a smile as she gazed at the Crown Prince and Crown Princess. Did Ian say something wrong? The Crown Princess's title was personally conferred by Royal Father. Are you dissatisfied with Royal Father's decree by calling her Miss Xiao? Prince Mo asked with a smirk as he raised his eyebrows. Ian was startled, and she hastily knelt down to apologize. It was Ian who misspoke, Your Highness the Crown Prince. Ian did not mean to defy the great king's decree. That's good. Prince Mo nodded as he curled his lips coldly. Otherwise, this Crown Prince will mistakenly think that you are dissatisfied with the great king. Ian quickly protested while kneeling there in a cold sweat. Ian doesn't dare. Empress Zhao glanced at her before mediating with a smile. All right, Ian, get up. Crown Prince, you don't need to be so harsh on Ian. She is your grandmother's adopted granddaughter, so she can be considered half your younger sister. Mo Lien nodded non-committally. The maidservant Sua hurriedly ran 2 steps forward with a distressed expression on her face. She bent down and helped her young miss up. The master and servant looked at each other and suppressed the faint light in their eyes. Your Highness, Empress Zhao chuckled as she took 2 steps forward and affectionately held her eldest son's hand. The Crown Prince was caught by Empress Zhao before he could retract his hand. As soon as he pulled, his hand was covered in grease. The Crown Prince's mouth twitched slightly, and he hurriedly looked at Empress Zhao, who had a strange expression on her face. He laughed dryly and said, Royal Mother, just now a plate fell. My hands were covered in oil, and I didn't have time to tell Imperial Mother. If the Queen was not present, Xiao Yao would have laughed out loud. His Highness must be stupefied right now. Just now, when he was fooling around with Miss, he was so happy. You child, you're already so old, yet you still don't know how to take care of yourself. Empress Zhao cast a glance behind her. The green mammy immediately led people forward with a basin of water and a clean towel. After Empress Zhao personally wrung a towel to wipe her son's hands, Prince Mo instantly felt a bit awkward. He was already so old, yet he still needed his mother to wipe his hands for him. He hastily tugged at his esteemed mother and coughed lightly, saying, Mother, I'm not a child, so I can do it myself. Empress Zhao couldn't resist laughing as she said, In Mother's eyes, you will still be Mother's child even when you're 80 years old. But now that I think about it, when you were 3 years old, you weren't even as tall as a clothes rack, yet you wanted to personally put on clothes for yourself. In the end, you were so busy that the entire clothes rack collapsed and got buried by a pile of clothes. Chapter 1173. Pfft. Some of the palace maids behind the Queen couldn't hold back and hurriedly coughed to cover their stifled laughter. Prince Mo immediately begged for mercy. Mother, don't talk about it anymore. His wife was still here, he wanted to save face. Empress Zhao pursed her lips and laughed. But when you were young, there were so many happy things. Mother remembers that when you were 7 years old, you went hunting with your father. In the end, you encountered a super big bear that chased after your father. You were still young then and chased after the big bear with a small bough on your back. In the end, the bear didn't catch up and your father was saved by the guards. When he turned around and realized that he had lost you, he was so anxious. Prince Mo laughed awkwardly and hurriedly tugged at his mother's sleeve. Mother, don't talk about it anymore. Okay, Mother won't talk about it anymore. Empress Zhao sighed softly. After washing her son's hands, she looked at him lovingly. In the blink of an eye, you're already so big and about to get married. Mother and son looked at each other and smiled. At this moment, the little crown princess pattered over and tugged hard at the Queen's sleeve. Imperial Mother, who's the big bear? Everyone. Prince Mo's mouth twitched. He held back his laughter and tugged at the little fellow's hand. Imperial Mother, Jojo is a little muddle-headed from cultivating these 2 days. Empress Zhao looked at her speechlessly. When Aba heard the 2 words cultivating, she immediately looked up at the crown prince like a spring that had been wound up. Husband. The cultivation ground. Okay, okay, okay. The Crown Prince hurriedly nodded at her and turned to Empress Zhao. Imperial Mother, Jojo is about to break through in the next few days. I'll bring her to the cultivation ground first. Empress Zhao nodded and then nagged, It's less than 2 months until your wedding. Don't just cultivate all the time. See what you're lacking and remember to make up for it in time. Your wedding is a big event, don't neglect it. Prince Mo hurriedly nodded. All right, you guys should rest early too. It was only then that Empress Zhao called out to Yen and led her outside. Mother, take care. Mo Lien squeezed the little fellow's little hand. Abba glanced at him and stiffly called out, Mother, take care. It was only after Queen Zhao and her entourage had exited the Eastern Palace's doorstep that Crown Prince Mo couldn't resist chortling. He pulled that little fellow into his arms and pinched her small cheeks. Xiao Yao, on the other hand, couldn't help but squat on the ground and laugh. Abba looked at Mo Lien with a serious expression. Husband, cultivate. Mo Lien was overjoyed. She held her little hand and nodded. Let's go. I'll take you to that cultivation area. He brought her into the back room of the bedchamber. His palm swept across a row of candles, and a stone door on the wall suddenly opened. Xiao Mu immediately sensed the dense mystic energy enveloping her from all directions, and her small face immediately smoothed out. Mo Lien didn't let go of her and lowered his head to rub against her head. Cultivate for the night. Come out for breakfast tomorrow morning, okay? No. Abba immediately spread her arms and vetoed his words. I want it even if you don't want it. Mo Lien lifted her up and gazed into her eyes as he said, We'll bathe together tonight, and we'll eat breakfast together tomorrow morning. Choose one. Xiao Yao. Where's your Highness's face? Abba scratched her little head. Let's eat breakfast then. She kept feeling that this man's eyes seemed to be shining when he said, Bathe together tonight. It wasn't anything good. Chapter 1174. Mo Lien chuckled and nodded, leaving Abba alone in the cultivation room. Then let's make an appointment. Xiao Mu helplessly nodded her head. It was so strange. This person kept hindering her cultivation, but why did she especially not want to slap him to death? Jojo. Mo Lien poked her head in from outside the cultivation room and smiled at her with narrowed eyes. See you tomorrow. Abba raised her small hand and reflexively shook her small paw. Only then did Mo Lien restrain himself from pouncing over and rubbing her in his arms again. This little fellow was seriously adorable to death. She really wanted to hug her like this. Even if they didn't do anything and just chatted for the entire night, it would also be good. She didn't want to let go at all. What was she cultivating for? It was as if this little rascal had joined a cult, talking about cultivating all day long. Prince Mo left the secret room with a melancholic expression. When he returned to his bedchamber, his gaze involuntarily kept looking in the direction of the secret room. His Jojo had returned. How wonderful! His pitiful heart that had been hanging high in the air finally seemed to land on solid ground, stabilizing his mind. My Lien section break the vassal king of an Inan's estate in the Mo Kingdom capital. The gold-gilded plaque on a black background flickered under the illumination of the sunset, dignified and solemn. The grand doors opened with a rumble. A group of people supported an abnormally thin woman with slightly protruding cheeks. She had no flesh on her face, and her body was abnormally thin. That woman was not yet 50 years old, and her harsh and crafty face was currently covered in a gratified smile. 2 nannies supported the woman on both sides. Their hair was coiled up, and they were dressed in servant attire. A man in his 50s stood next to them. He was dressed in a purple gold robe, and his hair and beard were several inches long. They were the old vassal king of Nan and his vassal king consort Wu Hongmo. The husband and wife exchanged a glance and nodded with a smile. Then, they looked forward at the same time with expectant expressions. He's coming, he's coming. Your Highness, Your Highness, Your Highness, Your Highness, Your Highness is back, he's back. A green-clothed servant dashed towards the entrance of the mansion and shouted in high spirits. Quick, quick, help me over there. Wu Hongmo couldn't restrain her joy as she grabbed the hands of the two mamas and called out. Princess consort, don't worry. His Highness will come to see you soon. A mama smiled and held her hand. Under everyone's expectant gazes, the three fast horses galloped from afar to near at full speed. A black figure in the middle lightly dismounted from his horse and tossed the spear in his hand to the soldier behind him. The vassal prince of Annan, Cho Fu, hurried forward and prostrated himself in front of the old vassal king of Annan and the vassal king consort with a tall and straight posture. What ability does this child have to trouble father and mother to personally welcome me? Fu, get up, quickly get up. Princess Annam excitedly walked down the stairs and hurriedly helped him up. She was so excited that her hands trembled as she caressed her son's handsome face. She smiled happily and said, Fu, mother has been waiting for you for a long time. Finally, you have returned home. Fu has lost weight, but he has become stronger. Mother. The vassal prince of Annan, Cho Fu, smiled as he supported Princess Annam. Then, he turned to look at the smiling vassal king of Annan. Fu greets father. It's good that you're back, it's good that you're back. The old vassal king of Annan stroked his beard and chuckled. Princess Annam nodded and gently gazed at her son. Fu you've had a long journey. It must have been hard on you. Let's talk after we return. Amen, your mother is right. Fu let's return home first. We cooked many of your favorite dishes to welcome you back. Come in. The vassal king of Annan stroked his beard and chuckled. Chapter 1175. Thank you, father. Thank you, mother. Cho Fu nodded and supported his mother, Princess Annam, into the estate. The whole family had a harmonious reunion dinner. The father and son pair never mentioned to Princess Annam that the crown prince had lodged a complaint against the vassal prince of Annan. Princess Annam drank 2 more cups because of her son's return, and the alcohol got to her head, so she had someone help her back to her room first. Fu, what do you plan to do about that matter? After seeing his old wife leave, the vassal prince of Annan withdrew his smile and looked at his son worriedly. Don't worry, father. I've already discussed this matter with Mr. Liu and have a preliminary countermeasure. That's good. The vassal prince of Annan shook his head and sighed. I understand the great king very well. He's easily swayed. The matter of your lax management of the army isn't a big deal, but if the great king hears 3 or more people mentioning your mistake, he'll definitely have an opinion of you. This matter might not be resolved peacefully. After all, those imperial censors were like mad dogs that had bitten his son and might not let go easily. Moreover, His Highness the Crown Prince stood behind these imperial censors. Don't worry, father. This son knows what to do. The vassal prince of Annan nodded solemnly and raised his cup to pat his shoulder with a smile. Even if the great king temporarily wants you to hand over the stalwart tiger troops commander tally, don't refuse and just give it to him. If you're idle at home, you can also accompany your mother more. This son understands. Cho Fu lowered his head, but a faint trace of unwillingness flitted across his eyes. He had roped in the stalwart tiger troop with great difficulty, so how could he just give them away like this? Night, in the vassal prince of Annan's courtyard. Slap. A thin piece of paper was pressed down by someone. His Highness the Crown Prince petitioned the great king to punish the vassal prince for lax management of the army, a military advisor beside him said with a worried expression. In less than an hour, that person had already listed out more than a dozen of Nian Chong's crimes and posted them in the central square, announcing them to the public. Mr. Liu, what do you think of this matter? Crown Prince Chou's stern face was taut as he turned to look at the middle-aged military advisor. Mr. Liu shook his head. His Highness the Crown Prince clearly wants to use this opportunity to suppress the Crown Prince. If we don't handle this matter well, not only will our expedition to northern Qi be a failure, we might even be accused of not managing the army strictly. Damn it, I think that His Highness the Crown Prince is deliberately targeting us. A burly general said angrily, the heir led us through dangerous situations and fought for the country. Not only did he return with no merit, but he was even punished? How can I accept this? That's right. Nien Chong did rob a few good women and rob some money, but those small mistakes are nothing compared to the merits he has made. Shut up. Mr. Lu glared at them angrily and said, Look at yourselves. You've already left the stronghold for many years, but you still carry a trace of a bandit aura that's hard to change. Isn't this just handing over your weaknesses for others to use against you? Mr. Lu said, All right, you don't need to meddle in this matter. Let me discuss with the heir and see how to resolve this. All of you return to rest first. This is the Mo Kingdom capital, so all of you had better pay attention and abide by the rules. Don't make any more mistakes and let others catch you in your pigtails. Mr. Lu waved his hand, dismissing those uncouth fellows. Chapter 1176. Seeing that they had all left, Mr. Lu then looked towards the displeased Lord Vassal Prince and sighed softly. This matter was reported to Lord Vassal Prince by the Crown Prince and several imperial censors, so the great king will definitely attach great importance to it. I know. Cho Fu coldly said. He beheaded a junior general by my side on the street to give me a show of strength and a warning. He wants to tell me that as long as he wants to, there's no one he can't behead. The vassal prince of An Nan sneered. The crown prince is powerful, so it's inappropriate for us to directly clash with him. Mr. Lu sighed and said, I hope Lord Vassal Prince will think thrice before doing anything. Cho Fu nodded. I will have to trouble Mr. Lu to think of a strategy for this matter. Mr. Lu nodded. Let me go back and think for a night before informing Lord Vassal Prince tomorrow. Suddenly hearing his mother's voice from outside the door, Cho Fu waved his hand to dismiss Mr. Lu. Princess Anam Wu Hongma personally walked in with a bowl of ginseng soup and handed it to her son. She looked at him with heartache and said, Fu, you've lost a lot of weight. The campaign must have been very tiring. It wasn't tiring, mother. Cho Fu pulled his mother to sit down and looked at her seriously. I've already heard about younger sister's matter, but I haven't figured out the specifics. Can mother tell me the details? At the mention of Hui En, Princess Anam couldn't help but burst into tears. She grabbed her son's hand and sobbed, Fu, you have to avenge your younger sister. Your younger sister truly died too tragically. Wu Hongma gnashed her teeth at the mention of Hui En. It's all that crown princess's fault. It was that slut who harmed my daughter. Thus, she carefully recounted the entire incident to Cho Fu from beginning to end. When she reached the part where the crown princess didn't hesitate to crush Nien Kuei's soul in order to kill Hui En, Wu Hongma burst into tears again. That slut wouldn't even let off your disfigured younger sister. When we met in Shixia Valley, she actually despicably injured your younger sister again during the competition. She used some kind of witchcraft to bewitch His Highness the Crown Prince and actually instigated His Highness to burn your heavily injured younger sister to death. Ah, my Hui En, my poor daughter. You're going to die so miserably. I want to avenge your sister. I want to poison that damned crown princess. I want to poison her to death. Who would have thought that she was a person who was proficient in medicine? Not only did she see through me, she even arrested your cousin Xiaosu and locked her up in prison for a whole month. Thinking of this, Wu Hongma couldn't help but feel sad. She cried for a while. Your cousin was finally released from prison 2 days ago. But, is she still human? You didn't see it. Your cousin is so skinny, she's so pitiful. I really don't have the face to face your uncle anymore. I'm the one who harmed Xiaosu. It's me. Mother. Cho Fu reached out to hold his mother's shoulder and hurriedly comforted her. Don't be sad. I'll find a way to resolve this matter. A cold glint flitted across Cho Fu's eyes. Although I didn't see that crown princess today, I did experience her vicious methods. According to my subordinate's replies, if it weren't for the fact that the crown princess wholeheartedly wanted to kill Nien Chong, the crown prince probably wouldn't have made a move against Nien Chong. He also wouldn't have thought of taking advantage of the situation to accuse me. I said that she's a demoness who brings disaster to the country and the people. His Highness the Crown Prince was captivated by her beauty, Wu Hongmo fiercely said. Chapter 1177. Chou Fu's eyes flashed. This vixen. Don't be fooled by her young age. She's a complete seductress. She's very despicable. A demoness? A cold glint flashed past. Demonesses should be dealt with as soon as possible to avoid bringing disaster to the human world. Vassal King Consort Wu put away her sorrowful mood and wiped her reddened eyes before smiling at Chou Fu. Speaking of which, you are already 25 years old this year. Mom has chosen several young ladies for you, planning to hold a flower-admiring banquet and invite them over. At that time, you can take a look and tell Mom if you fancy any of them. No need, Mom. Chou Fu shook his head dryly. This son already has a vassal prince consort candidate in mind. Oh. Princess Anam was taken aback before asking with a smile, which family's young lady caught my proud son's fancy? It's Commandery Princess An, mother. What? That jinx? Princess Anam's expression changed, and she quickly shook her head in denial. No. You cannot marry that jinx who has lost both her parents. Perhaps she will bring disaster to our vassal king of an Nan's estate. Her fate is too tenacious. You cannot marry her. Besides, she doesn't have any family background, so she is of no help to you. That Marquis of Suan's estate is managed by her aunt, so it has nothing to do with her. Mother, as long as the Queen Dowager stands behind her, what does a mere Marquis of Suan's estate amount to? Wu Hongmo sighed and said with a nod, That's true. The Queen Dowager does like her a lot, but unfortunately, her fate is still too tenacious. What will we do if she jinxes Mom and your father in the future? Mother, if you are still worried, you can go find Hong Hai Temple's Abbot Kong Hui after she marries in and ask for several Buddhist seals to suppress her. Mother, it seems that no noble daughter is as honorable as her. Chou Fu's eyes turned as he said, The one this son is marrying should naturally be the best in this world. Wu Hongmo smiled with pursed red lips as she said with a nod, Child, you are right. Then we will proceed with the flower-admiring banquet and invite Ian as well. My Chow's section break. Bang. 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 Emolien had just knocked on the door of the secret chamber and led his little wife out. They hadn't even sat down to eat breakfast when they heard the sound of wind whistling and fighting coming from outside the door. Why is it you? Audacious fellow! How dare you trespass into our eastern palace? Hui Feng let out two strange cries from outside before falling silent. An incomparably swift voice flitted inside with a whoosh, and he sat down in front of Molien at once. Jojo, I'm Duan Yu. Do you remember me? Duan Yu pointed at himself with one hand and propped up his chin with the other as he gazed at Aber's expressionless face. Aber was gnawing on a pancake when a few more sounds of fighting came from outside. Prince Emo raised his eyebrows with a half-smile, only to see Situ Yi's figure flash as he also ran in. Good morning, little junior sister. Senior brother, I haven't eaten breakfast yet. Just in time, let's eat together. Emolien chuckled as he looked at these two fellows who had come uninvited. You two have trespassed into this prince's eastern palace. What, are you thinking of rebelling? Emolien curled her lips mockingly. What rebellion? We are here to see little junior sister, Jojo, the two answered in unison. Hui Feng and the others rushed in while panting and wiping the sweat on their foreheads. Your Highness. All right, you all can leave. Chapter 1178. These two mentally deranged fellows still had a sense of propriety in their attacks. Otherwise, Hui Feng and the others would have been beaten to the ground long ago. Hui Feng harumphed and cupped his hands before quickly retreating with his men. Hubby, cultivate. Aber sternly gazed at this man who dug her out of her cultivation ground early in the morning. So annoying. He kept hindering her from cultivating and she couldn't hit him. If she bit him, it would be a bit uncomfortable. Emolien imperceptibly twitched her mouth and ordered someone to scoop a bowl of porridge over. She stirred it with a spoon and coaxed her with a grin. Wait a bit. Go cultivate in the afternoon. The mystic energy inside is denser. Jojo. Little junior sister, how are you? Situ-e drank 2 mouthfuls of porridge before looking at her with chopsticks. Senior brother thinks that it's better to invite someone from Celestial Medicine Valley to take a look at your condition. Oh, that second doe, he's the disciple of Celestial Medicine Valley's Valley Master. His medical skills definitely can't be wrong. No need. Prince Mo coldly waved his hand in refusal. I've already invited a physician over. He'll examine her after breakfast. After saying this, he turned her small face around and fed her a mouthful of warm porridge. Little junior sister, you've really lost a lot of weight. Can you tell me what you encountered in that mystic realm? Situ-e asked curiously. She doesn't even remember you. What else can she remember? Duan Yu irritably pushed Situ-e aside and stuck his face in front of Arbor. He kept calling out, Jojo, look at me. I'm Duan Yu. Duan Yu, do you still remember me? His name is Duan Yu, Emolienne said as she fed the little fellow. Duan Yu, Arbor repeated. Duan Yu nearly jumped up in joy. She remembers me, she remembers me. You're a clown sent by monkeys, right? She only casually said your name, idiot. Emolienne and Situ-e both glanced at him with disdain. His name is Senior Brother Situ. Senior Brother Situ. Arbor spoke as if he was a little monk chanting scriptures. The corners of Situ-ye's mouth twitched as he silently glanced at Emolienne. Emolienne said calmly, if I don't say that, she won't know how to address me. So your name is Hubby? The two of them asked in unison. That's right. If I'm not your husband, then what am I? Emolienne shamelessly replied. Duan Yu grumpily glanced at him. Afterwards, he propped up his chin with one hand and tilted his head to say, I wonder what kind of drug Jojo was fed to make him recognize us. The three of them looked at each other and sighed. After breakfast, the group of physicians that Emolienne called over checked Arbor's pulse one by one, but when they left, all of them were frowning deeply. The Crown Princess was clearly healthy and didn't have any problems, so why did the Crown Prince stare at them with such a terrifying gaze every time? It was as if they hadn't diagnosed the Crown Princess' illness at all. But she wasn't sick at all. Not sick. Prince Mo glared at the last physician and angrily demanded, all of you said she wasn't sick, so why can't you recognize her if she's not sick? She didn't hit her head before? Did you examine her clearly? That unlucky physician prostrated on the ground and repeatedly kowtowed. Reporting to Your Highness, this official's diagnosis is the same as theirs. Your Highness, the Crown Princess really doesn't have any problems at all. Impossible. Duan Yu shouted as he pounded the table. Chapter 1179. It must be that you guys didn't detect anything. Duan Yu retorted angrily, a bunch of quacks. Quacks. The little fellow and the parrot chattered away and also shouted along with Duan Yu. Situ-e was a bit speechless, so he also suggested, how about I invite the Doe family's second brother Doe over to examine little junior sister? Sitting on the side, Xiao Mu had long been annoyed to death from watching 17 to 18 physicians. When she saw them talking at this time, she quietly stood up by herself. After the trio discussed it, they decided that Situ-e would go to the Doe family to invite second brother Doe into the palace to treat Arbor. However, they discovered that the little lass had already disappeared. Emolienne wanted to cry but had no tears. She ran into the bedroom's rear room alone to take a look and sighed after coming out. She went into closed-door cultivation. Go invite him tomorrow. She probably won't come out today. The main reason was that he was worried that if he went to harass her again, she would run off in anger and disappear without a trace. Situ-e burst out laughing. My heavens, little junior sister is so thirsty for cultivation. She ran off to cultivate just because you didn't pay attention to her for a few minutes. Emolienne heaved a long sigh. How sullen must it be to have a wife who was so positive and diligent that she cultivated non-stop every day. What kind of medicine can make someone's head be filled with cultivation every day? Duan Yu blinked. It's too miraculous, don't you guys think so? Situ Yi quickly interjected. Could it be that we wronged that punk from Beijing Manor and it wasn't his fault at all? Or perhaps, Jojo ate the wrong thing in the mystic realm? You're the one who ate the wrong thing. Emolian and Duan Yu rolled their eyes at him irritably. Jojo isn't that stupid. Situ Yi shrugged. Alright then. I'll invite second young Master Do over at this time tomorrow. Remember to let me pass and don't let me barge in again. It's very annoying. Emolian reluctantly agreed. After sending off the two gods of plague, Huifeng's figure flashed and appeared in front of her again. Your Highness didn't attend morning court today, so you didn't know that several imperial censors had a direct confrontation with the vassal king of Nan. Emolian curled his lips in a spurious smile. How is it? Are the results out yet? The great king has accepted your suggestion. Today at the imperial court, it was announced that the vassal prince of Nan had rendered meritorious service in defeating northern Qi, but he also needed to be punished for his lax management of the army. Since the two sides offset each other, it could be considered neither meritorious nor demerit. In addition, the great king also issued an edict to demote one of his generals. The edict should have reached that person's residence by now. Emolian sneered. What about the princess of northern Qi? According to your wishes, the great king bestowed the northern Qi princess to the vassal prince of Nan. Emolian laughed heartily. Well done. I originally wanted to let it rot in my hands. How could there be such a beautiful thing in the world? He brought it back himself, so he should enjoy it well. I'm afraid the vassal prince won't take this lying down. Just wait and see. This princess won't live for much longer. Emolian sneered as she stood up and walked outside. Huifeng's eyes brightened. Your Highness means that the vassal prince won't marry the princess of northern Qi? How could he be willing to marry a woman who can't help him at all? His heart is very wild. Huifeng pursed his lips. Then should this subordinate secretly send people to protect that unlucky princess of northern Qi? No need, Emolian said apathetically. The life and death of a princess of a small kingdom is unrelated to us. Chapter 1180. He was so disgusted by the vassal prince of Nan that he had secretly investigated him. He had long known that this vassal prince wanted to shove the northern Qi princess into his hands. Could there be anything in this world that would go as he wished? Wishful thinking. He even wanted to shove a woman into his hands. If he didn't make this vassal prince of Nan a mess, his name wouldn't be Emolian. Emolian sneered. Do you think we don't know about the vassal prince of Nan's little tricks these past few years? I'm afraid he won't have the life to enjoy what he wants. In the future, what would be handed over to you was a lifetime of peace and eternal well-being. Some people had been at the top for too long and seemed to have long forgotten what their names were and what their true identities were. Then there was no harm in reminding them properly. In this world, not everyone could be provoked at will. Huifeng's eyes flickered, and he quickly followed the crown prince out. After taking 2 steps, he looked back strangely. Your Highness, could it be that the crown princess went into closed-door cultivation again? The crown prince didn't want to pay attention to him at all. This guy was just too talkative and kept stabbing him in the heart. So infuriating. My Chow's section break. The next day. As expected, second young Master Do followed Situ Yi to the Eastern Palace. After seeing His Highness the Crown Prince abandoned them and led out a reluctant Arba. Hubby, cultivate. Duan Yu face-bombed. These were the words he heard the most these past 2 days. Emolian also coughed exasperatedly before pulling over her small hand and saying, Okay, cultivate. After I finish taking your pulse and have breakfast, I'll let you continue cultivating, okay? Arba creased his brows and sat upright on a stool on the side, glaring at second Do with large eyes. Quack. Hurry up. Situ Yi quickly coughed to cover his laughter and quickly stood up to say to second Do, Please don't take offense, second young master. Our little junior sister has been cultivating excessively these past 2 days, so her mind isn't very clear. You're not thinking clearly, Arbor said. Situ-E turned around and looked at Arbor with a smile. Junior sister, what's my name? Senior brother Situ. Arbor had an expression that said, You think I'm an idiot? Didn't her husband tell her this name 2 days ago? How could she forget it? Second Do frowned slightly and turned to look at Situ-E. Duan-Yu chortled, Second Do, let me tell you. Actually, Jojo wasn't scolding you just now. It's just that in the past 2 days, we casually told her that a group of people with the name Quack would be coming to take her pulse. So, just now, she was actually just calling your name. Second Do, what else could he say about this bunch of weirdos? Crown Princess, please give me your hand. Second Do knitted his brows as he took Arbor's pulse. His eyes occasionally glanced at the small wooden face that was close at hand. It's very normal. Second Do looked at Emolien and the others in confusion. Why were these 3 people looking at him with disappointed expressions? This little crown princess's body really couldn't be any more normal, all right? Quack. Arbor jumped down from the stool and pattered towards the back room with small steps. She didn't even feel like looking at those people. What's the crown princess going to do? Second Do was puzzled. Duan-Yu rolled his eyes and said, To cultivate. She's been like this these past few days, diligently cultivating every day. She doesn't care about worldly affairs and only cultivates. As they spoke, the 4 people shockingly discovered that waves of mystic energy were surging towards the back room. Chapter 1181. Clumps of fist-sized profound energy flowed into the Eastern Palace's training ground. Jojo is about to break through, right? Duan-Yu exclaimed. This little fellow was truly an oddball. She was actually about to break through to level 14 cultivation at her age. The Queen Dowager, who was drinking tea in the rear garden and chatting cheerfully with the Countess of Jian-En, suddenly looked up with a frown in the direction of the Eastern Palace. This is... The Queen Dowager stood up abruptly and exclaimed in pleasant surprise, Someone is breaking through in the Eastern Palace. From the looks of it, they are about to step into level 14 mystic cultivation. Could it be His Highness the Crown Prince? Fenggu also exclaimed in delight. The Queen Dowager shook her head and gazed meaningfully at Fenggu. She then asked with a faint smile, What cultivation do you think the Crown Prince has? What cultivation could His Highness the Crown Prince have? Fenggu looked at the Queen Dowager in bewilderment. Why did she feel like the Queen Dowager was implying that His Highness the Crown Prince's cultivation was higher than the Queen Dowager's? Could it be that His Highness the Crown Prince has already reached level 15, the pinnacle of mystic cultivation? You are too naive. Level 15 is only the pinnacle of the mystic realm. The Queen Dowager shook her head with a chuckle. She had long realized that she had never seen through her grandson's cultivation. Ever since he was born, the Crown Prince's cultivation had always been above the mystic realm. As for what realm it was exactly, she had never asked, and the Crown Prince naturally had never told her. Then who is breaking through in the Eastern Palace? Fenggu asked curiously. The Queen Dowager smiled with pursed lips and then sat down calmly with her teacup. I heard that the Crown Prince carried my youngest granddaughter-in-law back to the Eastern Palace these past 2 days. It seems like she has been tormenting herself in cultivation. Fenggu's mouth instantly turned round. No way, no way. The young Crown Princess is only 15 years old. She hasn't reached marriageable age yet. The Queen Dowager smiled even more heartily. The Countess of Jian-En commented with a smile, The Crown Princess is truly amazing. She truly is one of a kind in this world for her cultivation to be so high at such a young age. The Queen Dowager was grinning from ear to ear. When Ian, who had come over with tea, saw this, her expression involuntarily stiffened before forcing a smile. Did something good happen for the Queen Dowager to be so happy? Fenggu nodded with a smile as she took the saucer from Commandery Princess Ian's hand. The Queen Dowager said that the young Crown Princess had broken through in the Eastern Palace. To be able to break through to the 14th level of cultivation before reaching marriageable age is truly commendable. When Ian heard this, her breathing stopped slightly. Afterwards, she quickly revealed an extremely unnatural smile. Is that so? That's truly incredible. Feng did not notice the change in her expression. She smiled and nodded as she served the tea. Yes, it's really amazing. The Countess of Jen, and glanced at Commandery Princess E, and indifferently before retracting her gaze without leaving a trace. After Ian left, the Queen Dowager gazed at her back before asking the Madam of the Count of Jen, and with a chuckle, "How was it? Last time, that fellow can be considered to have officially met Ian." The Countess of Jen, and replied with a smile, "Many thanks for the Queen Dowager's favor. Although the Commandery Princess is good, it can't be helped that fellow Yi Dao already has someone he likes." "Oh." The Queen Dowager was startled, not expecting the Countess of Jen and to reject her first. It's the Li family's third Miss Xiao Yi." The Queen Dowager then smiled. "But that one? The third young miss of the Assistant Minister of the Office of Imperial Banquets?" Right, it's her." The Countess of Jen, and confirmed with a smile. Chapter 1182. We've already matched their horoscopes, and the two are very compatible. We plan to choose a suitable date for the two families to discuss and officially decide. The Queen Dowager nodded with a smile. "That's pretty good. I have to congratulate the Countess. Feng go to my jewelry box and choose 2 items suitable for young ladies to send to the Li family's third miss." The Countess of Jen, and chuckled. "This subject thanks Your Majesty the Queen Dowager on behalf of her daughter-in-law." Less than an hour later, the Queen Dowager sent someone to escort the Countess of Jen and out. The Queen Dowager rubbed her forehead tiredly. Feng face sank, and she commented in displeasure, "This Countess of Jen, and really doesn't know what's good for her. Your Majesty the Queen Dowager sincerely wants to marry Commandery Princess Anne to the Count of Jen Anne's estate, yet she doesn't appreciate it and even set up a marriage for young Master Pei so quickly? Your Majesty the Queen Dowager, this servant has also heard of that Li family's third miss. I heard that previously, Her Majesty Consort Cheng had intended to marry this third miss into the great king's son's estate as a noble concubine. But for some reason, this Miss Li actually fell ill and missed the auspicious hour, so this marriage fell through just like that. I really didn't expect that she would actually latch onto the Count of Jen Anne's estate's young master. This Count of Jen Anne's family isn't afraid that they will disgust Her Majesty Consort Cheng. Sigh. The Queen Dowager waved her hand. The Countess is good at running a household and is smart and far-sighted. No wonder the Count of Jen and has valued her so much all these years. After these 2 encounters, she must have seen through something. Anne is arrogant and prideful, so she won't settle down even if we force her to marry into the Count of Jen Anne's estate. It is pardonable that the Countess doesn't fancy such a daughter-in-law. Forget it, let's wait and see. It's just a pity that she sigh. The Queen Dowager sighed and waved her hand tiredly. Help me back to my room to lie down. Has the Queen Dowager's chronic back pain flared up again? I will go inform the Royal Physician Building. All right, I already said it's an old ailment. Can those royal physicians treat me? The two left as they spoke. 1 day later, everyone in the imperial house was stunned by the commotion in the Eastern Palace. The profound energy that flew above the Eastern Palace in batches was so dense that it almost formed a nebula pattern. Who could be so awesome in breaking through? It had already been a full day and night, all right? The dense profound energy seemed to have covered the entire Eastern Palace with a layer of white mist, making it impossible for anyone to see the situation inside. The men sent by the great king and empress to the Eastern Palace were sent back by Prince Mo. The people who returned only told the great king that the crown princess is breaking through. Don't worry, everything is normal. Was this normal? A normal person would need a day and a night to break through? She must have sucked in all the profound energy around Guanlon City. It's nothing. It's normal. The Empress Dowager felt better after a good night's sleep. She had the energy to eat sweet cakes again. Seeing this, Fenggu tried to persuade her. Empress Dowager, the imperial physician said that you can't eat too much of this. I can't eat this, I can't eat that. What else can we eat? The Empress Dowager said indignantly, don't listen to their nonsense. We only live for a short 100 years. We should eat and drink as we should. Boom! The Queen Dowager immediately jumped up from her stool. Who? What's going on? Could it be that some blind rebel army had barged into the royal palace? Chapter 1183. Soon, a reporting hidden guard floated in and coughed lightly. It's nothing, Your Majesty the Empress Dowager. His Highness the Crown Prince ordered this subordinate to inform you that the Crown Princess is currently at a critical juncture in her breakthrough, so any abnormal sounds are normal. The Empress Dowager and Fenggu looked at each other in dismay. It wasn't until noon that a blinding light shot out from the Eastern Palace's bedchamber and soared into the clouds like a pillar of light. The Empress Dowager and the Great King couldn't sit still and hastily rushed to the Eastern Palace, encountering each other at the entrance. The moment he stepped through the door, he saw a strange sight. Those layers of mystic energy were like a waterspout that poured into the Eastern Palace's bedchamber. Then, the clouds and mist dissipated, and the sky became clear and bright. A plain-colored figure abruptly jumped out of the roof. With a long whistle, the figure flew like a streak of white light to a tree several meters away with a whoosh. With a fling of her hand, several earth spirits smashed down, and a series of rumbling noises were heard. The soil under the tree rolled and tumbled, twisting into the shape of a long snake. With a smack, it slammed into a thick and solid tree, instantly snapping the tree in half and crashing to the ground with a boom. The Empress Dowager and the Great King. Ha ha, Jojo, you successfully broke through. Duan Yu guffawed as he looked up at the cold-faced little girl. Why are you here? The little girl looked down at him and suddenly appeared in front of him with a flash. Didn't I already arrive here yesterday? Duan Yu looked at her in bewilderment. Jojo, you didn't forget who I am again, right? Duan Yu, your core ravaging thunder is quite useful. That's right, the jade heavenly thunder I gave you last time is even more. Duan Yu's eyes suddenly widened. You? What did you just say? You remember the core ravaging thunder? Then you know who I am? You are Duan Yu. Arbor looked at Duan Yu as if he was looking at a clown. He narrowed his eyes and surveyed the surroundings. Why am I here? Wasn't this the Eastern Palace? Why did she run to the Eastern Palace for no reason? Shouldn't she be inside the Mystic Beast Forest secret realm? She raised her hand and subconsciously massaged her throbbing little head. Her memory kept flipping back and suddenly stopped at the giant ape's big grinning face. She remembered. It was this giant ape that had tricked her. It had snatched the disaster-courting talisman that she had just finished drawing and stuck it on her. A certain person gloomily looked inside herself. When she saw that her realm had unknowingly soared to the entry stage of level 14 Mystic Cultivator, her small mouth instantly formed an O shape. Actually, she didn't even know how she managed to cultivate. This was because even though she was awake now, she couldn't remember anything that had happened while the disaster-courting talisman was in effect. The little fellow pursed his lips and didn't say anything for a while. He stood there in a daze for a while. Emo Lien leaped over. Jojo. Little junior sister. Situi chuckled as he ran over. Congratulations. Congratulations. Little junior sister, you have already become a level 14 Mystic Cultivator. Senior brother Situ, you are also here. Arbor returned to her senses and nodded at him. Afterwards, she pattered to Emolien's side with a taut face. Emolien, when did I come back? You are. Emolien paused and looked at her in disbelief. Jojo, you remembered me? These people were so dumb. What did he mean by she remembered him? Chapter 1184. He looked at her with some surprise and some melancholy. This little fellow remembered his name. She was Emolienne and not her husband. Ah? Little junior sister. Have you recovered your memory? Situ-E bounced in front of him and pointed at his nose as he asked, What about me? What's my name? Situ-E. Arbor rolled her eyes at him with a look at an idiot expression. Situ-E rubbed his nose. That's right. My name is Situ-E. His name was finally not Senior Brother Situ. Little junior sister, that's great. You've finally recovered. Situ-E chuckled. You don't know how worried we were when you lost your memory. When did I lose my memory? Arbor glanced at them expressionlessly. I didn't lose my memory. Wasn't it just her memory being sealed by the disaster-courting talisman? She would never tell anyone about this, not even Emolienne. She would never tell anyone that she was the one who drew the disaster-courting talisman and got herself into bloody trouble. It was too embarrassing. When she thought about how she had lost her 5 senses and memories because of the disaster-courting talisman, and how she might have wandered around the forest like a fool, she wanted to catch the giant ape and give it a good beating. Emolienne sighed softly and went forward to hold her little hand. Jojo, look at you. You don't remember anything before yesterday again? Nothing happened before yesterday. The little fellow raised her head proudly and suddenly narrowed her eyes. Her gaze swept towards the roof and she threw Emolienne's hand away before she flew up with a whoosh. Come out. Everyone was stunned for a moment, not understanding why she had flown up to the sky. But very quickly, they saw a big furry head peeking out from the edge of the roof. The great ape laid there and looked at her with a pair of small eyes. It grinned widely and gave her a silly smile. Great. This fellow still dared to appear in front of her. Arbor flew in front of it with a whoosh and without another word, she raised her little fist and punched it. Who told you to trick me? Who told you to force me to cultivate? Who told you to trick me? Pow, pow, pow. Arbor's small fists landed on the giant ape's head like raindrops. Along the way, the giant ape should have been secretly tailing him, but it didn't show itself. Looking at its wretched appearance, Arbor understood everything. Even after using the disaster-courting talisman on her, he was still worried and kept an eye on her to see if she was cultivating properly. Hee hee. Let's see if I can't beat this guy to death. The giant ape hurriedly used its thick and strong arms to hold its head, nimbly jumping around the eaves, climbing up the tree for a while, and sliding down while hugging the tree. That pitiful tree bent down under the weight of its huge body. Empress Zhao stared at the scene in front of her, dumbfounded. She pressed her head and moved her body. What is this? Get down here. The crown princess was climbing up and down the tree, fighting with a big monkey. That scene was beautiful no matter how one looked at it. Arbor flew down with a whoosh. Emolienne hurriedly walked over and pulled her little hand. She naturally raised her sleeve to wipe the sweat on her head. All right. Stop fighting. Come and greet grandmother. Asterisk bang. Asterisk the giant ape also landed on the ground, and it followed Xiao Mu with its chubby legs. Arbor turned her head and glared at it fiercely, only to see the latter grinning cheekily and opening its big mouth. Grandmother, this is my Jojo. Chapter 1185. Emolienne walked up to the Queen Dowager while holding the little fellow's hand and smiled at her. Emolienne squeezed the little fellow's hand and gave her a look that said, Call me grandmother. Arbor blinked as she looked at the benevolent-looking elderly lady and called out crisply, Grandmother. Good. The Queen Dowager pulled Arbor over with a grin and examined her closely. Good child. Let grandmother take a good look. Fenggu, look at how well born this child is. Fenggu also laughed while covering her mouth. Isn't that so? The crown princess really is like a little fairy that has descended from the heavens. If this old servant were to run into you on the streets, I might even think that I was seeing things. How could anyone be born so well in this world? Although the little fellow's face was stoic, she was still blushing from their praise. Ha ha ha. The Queen Dowager nodded with a smile. She pulled Arbor's hand and stuffed an interspatial ring into her hand. Good child, grandmother learned from the crown prince that you are skilled in pharmacology and can refine pills at such a young age. You are truly amazing. This is a meager meeting gift that grandmother prepared for you. Just take it. Arba's eyes flickered when she looked down. This was a rare and precious interspatial ring in the lower star domain. She had only obtained one from teacher Long Chuyun before. When the king and queen saw this, they couldn't help but open their mouths in shock. It seemed that mother was quite satisfied with this granddaughter-in-law. Grandmother, this is too precious. I. The queen dowager patted Arba's small hand and said with a chuckle, "There are some spiritual flowers and herbs inside that I collected when I was young and adventurous outside. They are of no use to me, so I am giving them to you. You can use them to their fullest potential. Don't decline. This is grandmother's small token of appreciation for you. If you don't take it, grandmother will be unhappy." When Commandery Princess Yen, who was standing behind the Queen Dowager, saw this, she clenched her handkerchief tightly and lowered her head with pursed lips. "Chow chow, accept it," Mo Lien advised with a smile. "All right then, I'll give it to grandmother after I refine a good pill." Arba nodded and put the interspatial ring into his inner world. "Ah, that's right." The old lady was so happy that she couldn't close her mouth. She smiled and nodded. At this moment, the great king finally found a chance to interrupt. "Ahem. Crown Princess. What exactly happened in the Mystic Beast Forest secret realm a while ago? Why were so many of you sent out in advance?" Arba faintly glanced at the great king. Suddenly, his fingers moved and he took out a defensive profound artifact that looked like a thumb ring. With a swing of his hand, he threw it towards the great king. "I don't know." The secret realm suddenly collapsed. "Before I left, I picked up several things, so I'll give this defensive mystic artifact to the great king," Arba said expressionlessly. The great king was startled by her action at the beginning, but when he scooped up that defensive mystic artifact, he turned it over and over to examine it admiringly. "Good stuff, this was good stuff. This defensive mystic artifact should also contain a trace of fire spiritual energy, so it should be a beginner-level spiritual artifact. This is indeed not bad." The Queen Dowager nodded in praise after taking a look. "Great King, you can wear it at all times." Okay. The great king was also amused and nodded repeatedly with a smile. Chapter 1186. When Arba saw Empress Zhao looking in her direction, she thought for a moment before pulling out Wei Nanshu's gem-studded dagger from her waist and tossing it to Empress Zhao. "For you to defend yourself." One had to know that Wei Nanshu was very resentful towards this spiritual weapon dagger because it was indeed a pretty good item. Empress Zhao held the dagger and examined it. At first, she felt that this dagger was rather beautiful, but then she realized that it was actually a spiritual weapon dagger, so she glanced at Arba with a complicated gaze. "I can also use this spiritual weapon?" Empress Zhao couldn't help but ask. "You can, Imperial Mother. After this kind of spiritual weapon recognizes its master, it will automatically suppress to a cultivation realm suitable for you." Mo Lien nodded and explained, although it can't display the spiritual weapon's full power after being suppressed, at least 60% of its power can be retained. "But isn't that a waste?" Empress Zhao softly muttered. It was quite melancholy. Her cultivation realm had always been around level 5 mystic cultivator for many years. It wasn't that she didn't work hard enough, but that her constitution and aptitude determined whether she could walk further on her path in the future. She was the type of person with mediocre aptitude among mystic cultivators. Being able to enter level 5 mystic cultivator realm was already considered her limit. The Empress Dowager said with a smile, "Little fellow, you gave all the good things to your royal father and mother, so what do you have left?" Arba took out that mystic weapon bow and patted it. "This is enough for me." Heh. She still had a large pile of odds and ends contributed by the giant ape. She threw them into her inner world and didn't even look at them carefully. That mystic realm was seriously too dangerous. It collapsed just like that. "Fortunately, nothing happened to you." The Empress Dowager held her small hand and said, Right, what did you do just now? Advance to the entry level of level 14 Great Mystic Cultivator, right? Aber nodded, and the great king and empress Zhao gaped at the same time, looking at Aber as if they were looking at a little monster from outer space. Their daughter-in-law was only 15 years old, but her cultivation had already reached level 14. How could they, who had mediocre aptitude, endure this? After sending off the Empress Dowager, the great king, the queen, and the others, many concubines in the palace came one after another to send gifts to congratulate the crown princess on her advancement in cultivation. Aber was too lazy to meet them. He only ordered people to accept the gifts and sent the people from the various palaces back. Now that the four of them had moved into the small courtyard, they finally had time to chat. Duan Yu asked curiously, "Jojo, do you really not remember what happened in the Mystic Beast Forest these few days?" "As far as I know, you were sent out less than half a month after you entered. In other words, you've been wandering outside for more than 10 days. Could it be that you've been cultivating in the Mystic Beast Forest every day?" Our dear Duan Yu really hit the nail on the head. Aber pulled a long face and pretended to be disdainful as he said, "How is that possible? Don't talk nonsense. I was just beating up beasts in the forest and collecting crystal cores. Nothing else." Situ-E sneaked a glance at her and suddenly asked, "Then what about that phoenix egg you picked up? Take it out for us to see." "What phoenix egg? When did she pick up some phoenix egg?" "There." Situ-E pointed at Aber and asked, "Isn't that right? Isn't that right? You were tested out in one try? You just forgot. You don't even remember something as important as you picking up a phoenix egg, little junior sister." Aber nearly broke her facade. The corner of her mouth imperceptibly twitched, but her small face remained taut. Chapter 1187. Indeed, Aber herself had already discovered that she had completely forgotten everything that happened in the past 15 days after the rapid cultivation talisman was stuck on her. This was probably the curse's side effect. But she just wouldn't tell them that she had forgotten. She would rather die than admit that she had wandered around the forest like an idiot for so many days and even foolishly forgot everything that happened during that period of time. It was so humiliating. Cough. Aber sank into her inner world to take a look. Sure enough, she strangely discovered that there really was a large resplendent golden-red egg lying inside her inner world. She took out the egg and flung it in front of Situ-E and the others. "What kind of phoenix egg is this? It's just a large-sized egg." Situ-E spat out a mouthful of tea. Duan Yu, who was sitting across from him, nimbly opened a folding fan in his hand, which blocked all of his tea. His handsome face instantly darkened, and he grumbled, "Situ-E, what are you spitting for? So filthy." Miss Chow also waved her small hand in disdain. At this time, she heard that egg indignantly yell, "You're the large-sized egg, your whole family is made of eggs." "What are you saying?" Aba's small face darkened. She sat there and stared at the egg with a dignified air, casually summoning Qingwan. Qingwan had long been impatient to come out. The moment he came out, he looked at her in pleasant surprise and exclaimed, "Master, master, you finally woke up." Miss Chow glared at him warningly. "I've been very clear-headed the entire time." Ha ha, his tsundere little master was willing to suffer because of her pride. It seemed like she didn't want to admit that she had been tricked by the rapid cultivation talisman she drew before. Qingwan immediately understood and quickly beamed like a flower. Right, little master, you've been especially clear-headed the entire time. You've been especially diligent in cultivating during this period of time, so you just couldn't be bothered with them." "That's right." Aber nodded and coughed lightly before pointing at that egg and asking, "What's going on with this egg?" The corner of Qingwan's mouth twitched, then she vividly described what happened that day. When she talked about how Aber was walking in the forest and was almost hit by a phoenix egg, the 3 men present all looked at her with strange gazes. "This is the good fortune accumulated from 10 lifetimes," Situ-E muttered in a low voice. "Tell me, who would be able to walk in the forest and get smashed by a phoenix egg for no reason? Only this strange child could do that." Then Master kicked the egg away. The egg really wanted to follow Master, so it ran all the way here. Qing Wan summarized the matter simply, mainly focusing on 2 points. Firstly, the owner didn't want the egg. Secondly, Eggy had insisted on following her. The 3 men were speechless. Hee. What egg? You're an egg. Your whole family is an egg. This seat said, this seat is the ancient Bloodfire great god. You mere mortals dare to look down on this seat like this. Wait until this seat recovers his true phoenix body, this seat will teach you a lesson. Arbor stretched out her leg to kick it, but who knew that the egg would roll especially fast and slip behind Emolien in a roll. It shouted angrily, "You kicked me again, you kicked me again." The egg was so heartbroken. Why did it follow such an unreliable master? "Oh, that's right, little master, Chirpy is awake," Qing Wan hurriedly said. Arbor was a little stunned and kept muttering in her heart. This disaster-courting talisman caused her to miss so many things. Chapter 1188. Even if she stubbornly refused to admit it, how could these 3 men in front of her not know that she really had forgotten what happened in the Mystic Beast Forest? But seeing that she was determined not to say anything, they could only make up their minds not to ask. Emolien coughed lightly, chuckled, and changed the topic. "Jojo, this is great. Little Fatty is also awake, so you can be at ease in the future." Arbor fished out the little white squirrel and rubbed its head. The little squirrel happily rubbed against her hand and turned to glare at Emolien. "Who's little Fatty?" "You." Emolien reached out and abruptly picked up its tail, turning it upside down. She looked at it with a grin and said, "You seem to have the aura of a sacred beast on you, although it's so faint that it's almost undetectable. But you are a little strange." The little white squirrel hastily tucked its tail between its legs and shook its small body, kicking its limbs wildly as it wailed, "Master, master, little master. Ah! There's a big brother demon here who wants to catch me." Xiao Mu's mouth twitched as she slapped away Emolien's hand. She then picked up this little fat squirrel and placed it on her knees. She cast the man an irritated glance. "Don't bully it all the time." Seeing that the little fat squirrel was about to dig its little claws into the little fellow's chest, Emolien's cold eyes narrowed, and she directly picked it up again and flung it outside. "Ew." Qing Wan covered her mouth and snickered. "Master." The little fat squirrel pitifully ran over to her with tears in its eyes. Under Emolien's oppressive gaze, how would he dare to randomly climb onto Master? He could only bear with that man's terrifying gaze and jump onto the little fellow's shoulder. He then obediently crouched there, petrified and motionless. Arbor propped up her chin with both hands and sighed. "Stop fooling around. I'm vexed." Emolien saw that she looked tired and reached out to rub her head. "Jojo, if you're tired, go back to your room and rest. Recently, you've been cultivating all day long. You haven't been able to eat or sleep well. You really need to recuperate for a while, okay?" Emolien said softly. Arbor nodded. She still had to make time to go home. Her parents were probably worried about her. Thump, thump, thump. The giant ape moved its thick buttocks, walked to her side, and sat down. Xiao Mu swept it a glance and didn't happily respond to it in a huff. "Jojo, where did you get this ape?" Duan Yu was dying of curiosity. Jojo refused to talk about it. She must have had a lot of things happen after she came out of the Arcana land. Darling Xiao snorted and glanced at the giant ape. I picked it up in the forest." The 3 of them immediately looked at her as if they were looking at a god. Could this child be any more outlandish? She randomly wandered around the forest for a few days, and not only did she pick up a phoenix egg, but she also picked up a powerful giant ape? Why didn't I pick up anything when I went to the Mystic Beast Forest for training? Situ-E asked with a melancholy expression. Ha ha ha. Duan Yu couldn't resist guffawing. "Can you compare to our Jojo? Our Chow Chow is a person who was born with great luck." Situ-E rubbed his nose and nodded in agreement. That is indeed the case. Oh, right, little junior sister, do you still remember? Before Situ-yi could finish speaking, he saw Duan Yu and Emolien simultaneously glaring at him. Ahem. Situ-yi pretended to cough and then stopped talking. Chapter 1189. Remember what? Aba couldn't help but look at him in confusion when he paused mid-sentence. Situ-yi sent the two of them a look before continuing. Do you still remember Beijing Manor's young master Ding Yun? Aba expressionlessly looked at her senior brother Situ and shook her head in less than 2 seconds, her aloof face devoid of any emotion. I don't know him. Duan Yu wanted to laugh, but he also felt some sympathy for that pitiful young Master Ding. Jojo had probably been transported out of the mystic beast forest's secret realm, so she was completely oblivious to everything that had happened during this period of time until today. Aba furrowed her brows in contemplation. Who is it? Do I know him? Emolien reached out to pinch her small face. Don't think about it if you don't know him. He's merely an idle person. Situ-yi sighed softly. Little junior sister, then don't think about it. Alright, Jojo should be tired. You guys hurry up and leave. I won't be seeing you out. Emolien directly ordered them to leave. She stood up and pulled Xiao Qiao's small hand, dragging her towards the bedchamber. Jojo, sleep and rest well. What do you want to eat later? Emolien, do you smell a stench? As the little fellow walked, she carelessly tugged at his sleeve and sniffed it. Emolien, he leaned close to her ear and whispered, You haven't bathed for many days. It's your body that stinks. Every time I call you to bathe together, you always tell me to cultivate. Aba. Duan Yu propped up his chin with one hand and sighed as he watched the two leave, glued to each other like glue. They're about to get married, right? Situ-yi watched the two leave hand in hand and chuckled with his arms crossed. Looking closely, they're quite compatible, aren't they? Duan Yu merely stood there and gazed into the distance, not speaking for a long time. Situ-yi looked back and sighed before patting Duan Yu's shoulder. Let's go, brother Duan Yu. I'll treat you to a drink. Humph, why would a carefree person like me need to drown his sorrows in alcohol? Duan Yu brushed away his hand and stood up with a chuckle. However, accompanying you for a drink or two is also fine. You don't need to drown your sorrows in wine. Your sorrows are written in your eyes. Situ-yi shook his head helplessly. The word love was really a disaster for the common people. Dividing line, our dear Qiao Mu slept for a long time. She slept for a whole day and night. When she woke up, it was already noon of the next day. She was actually able to sleep for so long. It was obvious that she was really tired. After a good night's sleep, Aba felt much better. He kicked his legs and sat up from the bed. As soon as she moved, Xiao Yao pushed the door open and entered. She looked at her with a grin and called out, Miss, you're finally awake. Xiao Yao. Xiao Yao excitedly put down the wash basin in her hands and ran to Aba to hold her hands. Miss, you finally recognize me. Yesterday, His Highness told me that you recovered, but I didn't believe it. Xiao Yao is really too happy to see that you're perfectly fine today. What could have happened to me? Aba stretched her small arms and legs with her hands on her hips. Accompany me home today. Xiao Yao covered her mouth and laughed. His Highness has already prepared a carriage and is waiting. Once Miss wakes up and has her meal, we can go home. Aba sat down at the table and used her chopsticks to pick up a pastry and send it to her small mouth. Chapter 1190. When she turned around and saw Xiao Yao chuckling with her head lowered, Aba couldn't help but ask curiously, What are you secretly laughing at? Nothing. She was thinking of how His Highness had fooled around with Miss during a meal. The Queen had caught them red-handed. Recalling His Highness's greasy hands made her grin from ear to ear. It's weird. Qiao Mu picked up another pastry and ate it. After drinking half a bowl of congee, She rubbed her small, round belly. Where's Emolien? He hasn't come back yet. His Highness is discussing matters with a Mr. Shangguan in the study. They should be ending soon. Crown Princess, Commandery Princess and requests an audience. Xiao 11Z quickly walked in from outside. Who is she? Arbor quickly put down her bowl and chopsticks as she asked in confusion. Xiao Yao explained with a smile. The day before yesterday, Commandery Princess En and the royal concubines from each palace sent gifts to congratulate Miss on her advancement. Oh. Arbor wiped her small mouth and asked with a nod, You've accepted them all? They've been stored in the small storeroom. Does Miss want to go over and take a look? No need. Arbor waved her small hand. Aren't they all just worldly items? What's there to look at? That's true. Xiao Yao nodded. She knew that her miss had an abundance of good things on hand, so she naturally looked down on them. Xiao 11Z stood on the side for a long time. Seeing that the Crown Princess didn't respond, he couldn't help asking softly, Does the Crown Princess want this servant to send the Commandery Princess away? Send her away. Arbor nodded. She didn't have the leisure to see this and that all day long. If she had the time, she might as well refine pills in peace. Xiao 11Z nodded and retreated. He then greeted Commandery Princess En with a smile, saying, Please forgive me, Commandery Princess. Little Master is still resting. If there is anything, Commandery Princess might as well instruct this servant. When Little Master wakes up, this servant will pass on the message. Commandery Princess En was taken aback, as though she had not expected Arbor to reject her. Even if it was for the sake of the Empress Dowager, she wouldn't do such a disrespectful thing. This little Crown Princess really didn't know the ways of the world. Ian shook her head with a smile without showing any dissatisfaction on her face. No need. Since the Crown Princess is still resting, I won't disturb her. I'll visit another day. All right. Xiao 11Z beamed with joy and nodded. Allow this servant to see the royal princess off. As Ian turned to leave, her gaze landed on the ceiling of the palace. This little Crown Princess might not be easy to deal with. Princess, they don't even want to see us. Why do we have to come here and embarrass ourselves like this? Su said indignantly as she followed behind her. What do you know? Ian cast her a tepid glance. Only by knowing yourself and your enemy can you emerge victorious in 100 battles. This Crown Princess is young, but she exudes an absolute oddity from head to toe. Ian clenched her fists. Her cultivation is too strange. In all my years, I have never seen someone who could break through to level 14 cultivation at the age of 15. It must be because His Highness the Crown Prince gave her many miracle pills. Su pursed her lips and said, I heard from other people that this kind of person who uses medicine to create a false cultivation realm is actually useless. Once it comes to actual combat, they can be beaten to a pulp at any time. Ian looked at her in amusement before saying with a shake of her head, That might not be the case. Chapter 1191. With the Crown Princess's cultivation, it can be considered exceptional. I suspect that she should have some special cultivation technique. Cultivation technique? Mystic technique. Mystic technique. Ian shook her head. It definitely isn't an ordinary mystic technique or cultivation technique. I suspect that she might have a divine rank or even saint rank cultivation technique. If she didn't have cultivation techniques to complement each other, how could her cultivation realm increase so quickly? If she could dig out the secret on her body and take it for herself. Anne's expression flickered, and she led Su to her Anya pavilion. The Queen Dowager hasn't been paying much attention to you lately. She only has her granddaughter-in-law on her mind, and she even gifted such a precious interspatial ring to the Crown Princess the day before yesterday. Su pursed her lips and said, It must have been hard on Miss to personally attend to the Queen Dowager and serve her wholeheartedly all these years. In the end, you can't even compare to a granddaughter-in-law that she has only met once. Shut up. Ian glanced at the talkative Su indifferently. I already told you not to speak whatever comes to your mind. Be careful that a loose tongue leads to trouble. How many spies did she have in the palace to dare to spout such nonsense? Ian glared at her and shook her head. Sue puffed up her cheeks and changed the topic, saying, Commander Princess, Princess Anam has sent out invitations to hold a flower appreciation banquet. Apparently, all the noble ladies in the city have been invited. Do you want to go? Ian was startled, but then she nodded slightly. Of course I want to go. She suddenly paused and turned to look at Sue. Is the Crown Princess going? My chow section break. I'm not going. Arbor scratched the little fat squirrel's furry chin as he leaned lazily against Emolien. Why would I go? I'm already busy to death, so how would I have the time to attend that nuisance of a flower appreciation banquet? Moreover, this kind of flower appreciation banquet was mostly held to select a wife for their son. Every family was well aware of this. What was she, a young woman who was already engaged, going there for? There was absolutely no need for that. The Crown Prince casually threw the invitation card out of the carriage window. Hugging his wife, he smiled and said, All right, I won't go. Jojo, if you're tired, take a nap. Arbor puffed his cheeks. I just woke up. You've been cultivating in the morning and at night these days. It's seriously too hard on you. Emolien leaned close to her small ear and murmured softly, Sleep a bit more. Speaking of this matter, Arbor also shed bitter tears, but he had no one to complain to. Lying in Prince Mo's arms, the carriage rocked back and forth. She decided to take a nap, but she really did close her eyes and fall asleep. Chapter 1192. Arbor was really going to be angered to death. Why didn't he say anything when such a big thing happened? Looking at his handsome, innocent face, Arbor couldn't resist reaching over and pinching his face. Why didn't you tell me? This isn't a big deal. After noticing a certain someone's angry gaze, Prince Mo's voice weakened, and he finally said in a voice so soft that it was almost inaudible, You've been too tired these past few days. You have to sleep well. He was really going to be angered to death. Arbor hammered him hard. Is my sleep more important, or is your life more important? Emolien opened his mouth, but he quickly changed the "you're important" to both. Both are important. Chow Mu pounced over and bit him. You scoundrel. Okay, I'm a jerk. Emolien hastily hugged this little fellow and begged for mercy. Jojo, don't be angry, okay? My teeth hurt from biting. As he spoke, he even lifted her little chin in all seriousness, busily trying to look at her teeth. Arbor irritably slapped his paw away and turned her little head away with a huff. I don't want to pay attention to you. Emolien turned her little head back with an innocent expression. No, how can you ignore me? Jojo. Don't be angry. It's not that I don't cherish my life, but I know. This poison can't do anything to me in the short term. You forgot that I'm an apothecary myself. My medicine can neutralize some of the poison, but it can't cure it completely. Arbor reached out to hug him and looked up at him anxiously. How long have you been poisoned? Not long after you left the Mo Kingdom capital, Ding Ting Ding suddenly sent me a message. Ding Ting Ding was the one who poisoned you? Arbor's little face darkened, inwardly recording another score against Ding Ting Ding. It's him. Emolien nodded and said, Ding Ting Ding controls level 8 wood spirits and is quite powerful. The reason why I was poisoned was because I was plotted against by him, but he didn't get any benefits either. You've been poisoned for a month? Arbor looked at him in surprise. No, not a month, at most half a month. Emolien hugged her small body and swayed gently. I'm fine. Chow Mu smacked his head with her small fist. Idiot. Emolien. Arbor grumpily took out a bottle of antidote from his inner world. Take this first. I'll make an antidote for you tonight. I just don't know if I have all the herbs I need. She muttered to herself. Jojo, there's no rush. What do you mean by not being anxious? Arber glared at him. I am anxious. Alright, alright, alright. Mole Yen blinked his phoenix eyes and said with a smile while hugging Jojo, then don't work too late to make the antidote tonight, alright? Look at you. When I bring you home now and Mom sees that you've lost so much weight, she'll definitely blame me for not taking good care of you. Bah. Arber grumpily glanced at him. You're just worried that Mom will blame you. Jojo. Previously, when I had to cultivate every day, did you come to bother me every day? Arber watched him drink the antidote and then took his pulse before casting him a sidelong glance. No. Emolien hastily shook his head and said seriously, I never disturbed you when you were cultivating. Otherwise, do you think you could break through to become a level 14 mystic cultivator so quickly? Chapter 1193. Heh, as if I'd believe you. This is a neurotoxin called Devil's Grass. It will paralyze a person's nerves for a short period of time and affect the limbs and body. It will gradually turn the person into a paralyzed and immobile person. Xiao Mu gritted her teeth in resentment. This ding-ting-ding really is vicious enough. Emolien lifted his hand to tidy her hair. It's a pity that he doesn't know that I have Jojo with me. Any poison won't work on me. Arber gave him a sideways glance. That's not a reason for you to hide your health condition. Okay. If anything happens to me in the future, I'll tell you immediately. Emolien smiled at her. Actually, it's okay if you wait a day or two until Jojo fully recovers before you detoxify me. Emolien looked at the little fellow's disapproving gaze and his voice subconsciously lowered. He couldn't help but laugh as he hugged her and said, Okay, I admit my mistake. Hurry up and cure me, baby. Humph. Arber glanced at him, refusing to accept his act of being obedient. This person didn't care about his own health at all. He was so annoying. Jojo. Emolien turned her small body around and lowered his head to plant a kiss on her cheek. Don't be angry with me anymore, okay? Dang 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 dang. Suddenly, the sound of gongs and drums could be heard from the streets. Dear neighbors and fellow villagers, today is the grand opening of the House of Treasures. There will be a large-scale auction in the evening. We invite all of you to attend. When Arber heard the sound, she pulled open the window and looked outside. What House of Treasures? Are they here to steal our morning sunlight pavilion's business? Emolien couldn't help but laugh as she craned her head to look outside as well. A few burly men and a few gorgeously dressed women were standing on the street, shouting and beating gongs and drums. They attracted a lot of attention. Just from the name of this shop, it doesn't sound fancy. Arber pursed her lips. I don't think there's anything special about this House of Treasures. Emolien, baby, it's called the House of Treasures. Oh yes. Xiao Mu shrunk her head and let down the curtain. How about we scout out the enemy tonight? It doesn't matter if Morning Sunlight Pavilion's business is good or bad. Emolien chuckled. In any case, it was nothing more than that. Gathering all the rare treasures in the world was just an excuse. The most important thing was to spread the news. Did I sell all my talismans last time? I sold it a long time ago. Then I'll give you another batch this time. She didn't have much use for those elementary yellow and blue talismans anymore. Now, she mainly used ebony to make talismans, and most of them were high-level blue talismans. Mid-level talismans were not that rare to her, so she decided to sell them to the Crown Prince. Anyway, she would only keep it as waste paper. Now, everyone outside knows that Morning Sunlight Pavilion has talismans for auction. Tell me, this is our only business. How could it be snatched away by others? Emolien raised her eyebrows and smiled. But if you want to go to the House of Treasures, I'll accompany you. Okay. Let's go take a look tonight. A trace of curiosity floated in the little fellow's heart. I wonder what good things they can auction. As they spoke, the carriage had already turned onto Min Shun Avenue and arrived at the entrance of the Marquis of Jiyuan's estate. The Marquis's estate had received news early in the morning that Arba would be returning today, so they had already opened the doors and waited. At this moment, Qiao Zhongbang and his wife, who had received the news, hurriedly came out of the hall to welcome them. Chapter 1194. Mom. When Arba saw her mother, her eyes involuntarily lit up, and she quickly ran up to hug her mother's arm. This child. Wei Ziqin reached out to poke her little head. You've made mother worried to death. You always disappear without a word. Do you know that Xiaoma brought people to look for you all over the place during this period of time? They almost turned the ground upside down. Arba nodded slightly with a stifled expression. Actually, she was also quite helpless. If not for that disaster-courting talisman causing her to be in such a bizarre situation, she could have actually returned when she was transported out of the mystic realm. All right, it's good that you're back. Come in and talk. Qiao Zhongbang hastily ushered everyone into the house. The group moved to the main hall and sat down, and servants naturally came forward to serve tea. Mom, is everything all right at home? There's nothing for you to worry about at home. Wei Ziqin pulled her daughter's small hand, her eyes filled with reluctance to part. Jojo, why are you so thin? Was it very hard to train in the Mystic Beast Forest Mystic Realm this time? It's fine. It wasn't very hard. Arba hugged her mother's arm and shook her head. Mom, don't worry about me. I'm fine. Look, my realm has increased again. I just broke through to become a level 14 Mystic Cultivator. Qiao Zhongbang and Wei Ziqin widened their eyes in shock as they sized up their daughter. Wei Ziqin looked at her with a rather complicated gaze and muttered to herself, "This is probably inherited by bloodline." Mom, what are you muttering about? Wei Ziqin was startled, and she quickly smiled and said, Nothing. Child, don't go anywhere now that you're back, okay? You have to properly prepare for your coming-of-age ceremony at home. Got it. Qiao Mu obediently nodded her small head. In her previous life, her mother passed away early, so how could her stepmother worry so much about her? She didn't have a coming-of-age ceremony. She could only hide at the side and watch the family prepare a grand coming-of-age ceremony for Qiao and I. At that time, she was like a little mouse that no one wanted. She lived in a dirty ditch and could not see the light of day. Wei Ziqin pursed her lips and smiled. That's good. Then move back home today. Don't mess around until your wedding. No. Arba suddenly thought of something and shouted, Mother, I have to go. Wei Ziqin patted her little hand and glanced at her unhappily. You just came home and you want to go out again? You're not going anywhere. Mother, this is something I promised someone else. Previously, when I was at that small base in the Mystic Beast Forest, I collected a batch of primary-grade herbs, but later on... In short, due to various reasons, I missed the appointed time. I must go there. Mother, it won't be long. I'll be back in 5 days at most. 5 days? Chapter 1195. Wei Ziqin rolled her eyes at the couple and poked her daughter's head. You only know how to use Xiaoma as a shield. It's okay, Mom. I just love to shield Jojo. I can shield him from anything. Wei Ziqin looked at her son-in-law speechlessly. Okay then, but remember to come back quickly. In 4 days at the latest, you'll have to move back home with your mother. I know. Mom, sister is back. Jolin and Xiao San ran into the front hall one after the other, followed by a little monk with teary eyes. When he saw Arba, he burst into tears. Benefactress, you left me behind again. Arba didn't even have time to say anything to his sister-in-law before he hurriedly left his seat and carried the crying little monk over. Little monk, why do you monks always like to cry? A monk is also a human. When a person is sad, tears will always flow. The little monk sobbed as he spoke. Qiao Zhongbang couldn't help but twitch his mouth when he heard this. There were more and more weirdos at home. What should he do? Little monk, you cry every time you see my sister. Do you think we don't treat you well? Jolene put her hands on her hips and rolled her eyes at him angrily. You are good, but you are not as good as benefactress. The little monk spoke honestly and raised his sleeve to wipe his tears. Benefactress and I have been through trials and tribulations since we were young. She always leaves me behind and runs off by herself. Can't I cry when I see her? You. Jolene didn't know whether to laugh or cry as she glared at the nagging little monk. She pursed her lips and said, No wonder sister left you behind and ran off. You are such a nagging little monk. Okay, don't cry. Arbor pulled his sleeve and helped him wipe his tears. You are not a 3-year-old child anymore. You are 4 years old. But after the new year, you will be 5 years old. You shouldn't cry. Qiao Zhongbang, Wei Ziqin couldn't help but giggle. She lovingly stroked the little monk's bald head and said, Kong Kong Mrs. Big Sister. It's fine. When Big Sister comes back from her business, I will stay at home for more than a month. Wei Ziqin said with a smile. Kong Kong, have you finished your homework today? The small monk nodded his small head and said, It's done. This little monk has already finished tomorrow's work. Benefactress, can you bring me along this time? That won't do. When Emolien heard that this guy actually wanted to be a candle, he immediately vetoed it. Benefactress. The little monk's eyes were filled with pitiful tears. How about this? I can't bring you along, but I can take you out to play tonight. Arbor patted the little monk's head. Big Sister will be back in 4 days. It won't be long. Big Sister, where are you going to play? Jolene and Xiao Sen were immediately energized. They gathered in front of Arbor and asked curiously, Big Sister, where are you going to play? There is a newly opened House of Treasures auction house. There will be an auction tonight. Emolien and I plan to go take a look. Do you guys want to go? The 3 little heads nodded in unison. Emolien couldn't help but facepalm. Was there a need to ask? These 3 little fellows, as long as there was something interesting to watch, how could they refuse? There was no need to ask about this kind of thing. You guys can go out, but you have to be obedient. Don't cause trouble for your big sister, Wei Ziqin reminded them. Mother, we are very obedient. Chapter 1196. Jojo, there's something else I need to tell you, Wei Ziqin said with a smile. Do you still remember the day Mother was abducted by the Qiao family? She went out with Madame Ren of Taichung Temple because she was looking for a girl from Madame Ren's 4th branch for your second uncle. That girl is 24 years old and has a rather hard life. However, Mother thinks she's not bad, and your second uncle is also quite satisfied. Mother plans to ask Madame Ren to go to the girl's house in a few days and settle the marriage date. Let's discuss the wedding date. If there are no accidents, your second uncle's wedding date will probably be before yours. Xiao Muluan's eyes widened. So urgent? Am I going to have a new second aunt? That girl has already been delayed for 24 years, so it's quite urgent. However, don't worry, Mother has seen that girl. Her temperament and appearance are both pretty good. Wei Ziqin smiled and nodded. Your second aunt left early, so your second uncle has been delayed all these years. Now that Xiao Hu has grown up, our family's life is getting better and better. Your second uncle, he... The family was happily chatting when they suddenly heard a startled cry from outside the courtyard. Second old master. Second old master? Eldest young master. What's wrong with second old master? Qiao Zhongbang and the others hurried out the door, but what they saw almost made them faint from fright. They saw second Uncle Qiao hanging from his son Qiao Hu's shoulder. Half of his body had been beaten until it was covered in blood. He looked incomparably frightening. No wonder the servant's voice trembled. Second uncle. Arbor cried out in alarm and ran to second Uncle Qiao's side. Me sister. Qiao Hu struggled to support his body and dragged second Uncle Qiao into the house. When he saw Abba running over, he spat out a mouthful of blood like a deflated ball and fell to the ground, barely breathing. Hurry, hurry and save eldest aunt. At the Zhou family's entrance. Brother Xiao Hu, Brother Xiao Hu. Xiao Mu was shocked when she felt Xiao Hu's pulse. Brother Xiao Hu's profound veins were actually injured by someone, and second uncle's condition was even more tragic. The bones in his left hand and left leg were actually broken by someone. When Abba checked, he felt as if he was shrouded in an icy mist, emitting an eerie chill. Wei Ziqin was so frightened that she didn't know where to put her hands and feet. Second uncle, what are you waiting for? Go to the clinic and ask for a doctor. There's no need. Carry him back to the room first. Prepare clean scissors, cloth, and hot water. Yes. Our Jojo is an alchemist. Our Jojo can see it. Wei Ziqin was so anxious that she was confused. The Crown Prince had already ordered the swift hidden guards to carry Qiao Zhongxing and his son to the side room. Go and find out what's going on. The Crown Prince ordered with a solemn face. Hui Feng immediately cupped his fists and accepted the order. He leaped over the wall with 2 other hidden guards to investigate the matter. Abba closed the door to the side room and flashed into the room alone. He first fed the father and son 2 healing pills before starting to treat second Uncle Qiao, whose injuries were more serious. After an hour, second Uncle Qiao's hands and feet were all wrapped in a splint that Abba had prepared. Qiao Hu also fed him another pill and fell into a deep sleep after the acupuncture treatment. When Abba was done, Prince Amo happened to push open the door and enter. Seeing her tired expression, he quickly reached out to support her. Jojo, are second uncle and Xiao Hu all right? Wei Ziqin asked worriedly. Chapter 1197. I'm fine. Abba frowned slightly. However, when Brother Xiao Hu was performing acupuncture, he kept repeating, "Sister, save eldest aunt, save eldest aunt." Wei Ziqin walked in and heard Abba say that her second uncle and his son were fine. She hurriedly bowed to the heavens and the earth and cupped her hands. "Io, what happened to second uncle and Xiao Hu? They were fine when we left the house this morning. Mother, don't worry. I've already sent people to investigate. I believe there will be news soon." That's good. I don't know who did it, to be so cruel. Mom, do you still remember eldest aunt? Qiao Mu abruptly interrupted her mother's words and asked. Qiao Zhongbong stepped in with an ugly expression. Jojo, your eldest aunt Qiao Wenxiu married far away in Willow City a long time ago. She had a good life before, but her in-laws were strict and didn't allow her to go back to her parents' home for many years. Abba nodded. Actually, she had some impression of her eldest aunt Qiao Wenxiu. Compared to her youngest aunt who was doted on by the old madam, her eldest aunt's life was much harder. Because she was the eldest sister, before she got married, her eldest aunt basically took care of everything outside the house. When she married far away in Willow City, it was said that her life wasn't good either. She had a strict mother-in-law. After she gave birth to a daughter, she was especially disliked by her mother-in-law and couldn't even go back to her parents' home. In her previous life, her eldest aunt Qiao Wenxiu had a very weak presence. Moreover, after the zombie outbreak, she hadn't heard any news about her eldest aunt's family. However, she didn't expect that in this life. If she didn't hear wrong, Brother Xiao Hu kept repeating, "Save eldest aunt. Save eldest aunt." Abba frowned in confusion. She turned to her father and asked, "Father, have you had any news about eldest aunt these past few years?" "Nope." Qiao Zhongbong shook his head. "Ever since we wandered out of Quoto village, we haven't seen your eldest aunt. Your eldest aunt came back once when you were 3 years old. Ruolin, who is 7 years old and your cousin, is 4 years older than you. I haven't seen her since." Wei Ziqin sighed when she mentioned her aunt. "Your aunt's mother-in-law. She's a very powerful woman. After your eldest aunt got married, she didn't even dare to return to her maiden home. If she dares to mention the matter of returning to her maternal family, her mother-in-law will not only scold her, but will also beat her. Arba was speechless when he heard that. Why was it another punching bag? She had already asked someone to send the 2 pitiful punching bags that she had saved the day before back to the water realm. Too weak, really. Arba was a little angry when she thought of the weak merfolk clan. She didn't know where her anger came from. If not for the fact that Master Long Chuyun and Senior Xuanji had asked her to treat the merfolk race well, she would not have bothered with such a weak race. Your Highness. Hu Weifeng's voice came from outside the door. Come in, Emolian called aloofly. Hui Feng swiftly appeared beside them with 2 hidden guards in tow. He bowed in salute. We've already found out, Your Highness. Speak. Second Master Chow and eldest young Master Chow were injured by 2 level 11 body cultivators at the Zhou residence's entrance. Why did those body cultivators from the Zhou residence injure second uncle and Xiao Hu for no reason? Wei Ziqin was enraged. Chapter 1198. It's like this, madam. Hui Feng turned around and bowed to Wei Ziqin before replying, the Zhou family's eldest son, Zhou Yuan, chased Xiuqi's wife out early this morning. Qiao family's second master and eldest young master just happened to pass by. Qiao Mu raised her hand to rub her head. When Emolian saw this, she quickly walked to her wifey's side and gently rubbed her head. Wei Ziqin and Qiao Zhongbang glanced at their daughter and son-in-law before being drawn back by Hu Weifeng's words. So second master recognized with a single glance that the person crying and making a fuss outside the Zhou estate was his long-lost eldest sister, Qiao Wanxiu. It really was Wanxiu? Qiao Zhongbang gaped in shock. After second master questioned her, he found out from Qiao Wanxiu that the Zhou family's eldest son, Zhou Yuan, had divorced his niece, Pu Rulin, in order to marry the daughter of the richest Gao family. He was so angry that he immediately went up to the Zhou family to reason with them. And then they were beaten up. Arba's expression darkened. Just a few words. Did the Zhou family want to kill second uncle and brother Xiao Hu? Apparently, these 2 formidable body cultivators were sent by the daughter of the richest Gao family, Gao Qiqi. They were the ones who injured second master and eldest young master. Hui Feng quickly finished his report and stood behind Prince Mo. The Zhou family could have hit anyone, but they ended up hitting second Master Qiao. Encountering someone as protective as the crown princess, this matter probably couldn't be settled peacefully. Then what about Wanxiu? Where are Wanxiu and her daughter right now? Qiao Zhongbang couldn't help but ask. The matter has blown up, and it looks like someone's going to die. Someone secretly went to the capital magistrate's office, and Sir Pang Dehai sent people to investigate. Seeing that the matter has blown up, the Zhou family didn't dare to make a fuss for the time being, so they locked up Qiao Wanxiu and Pu Rulin. They're currently locked up in the Zhou residence. Qiao Zhongbang punched the door and furiously exclaimed, "They're intolerable bullies. Are they bullying our Qiao family for having no one?" "Father." As soon as Arba called out, Qiao Zhongbang waved his hand at her and said, "You and the Crown Prince don't get involved in this matter. Father will personally bring some people to the Zhou family to see if they will let him go." How could Arba be at ease? Although her father had taken a mystic breakthrough pill a while ago and had broken through to become a level 9 mystic cultivator, the other party had 2 level 11 body cultivators. Perhaps there were other hidden forces. If Qiao Zhongbang went there so rashly, wouldn't he be asking for a beating? "No, father, it's too dangerous." Arba shook his head. "Find some secret guards." "No need." Qiao Zhongbang waved his hand and said, "This is our Qiao family's matter. How can we trouble the Crown Prince for everything?" "Daughter, don't worry. Father is going to reason with them and ask them to let you go. Don't tell me they would dare to beat me up so brazenly." In any case, he was the Marquis of Jiayuan personally conferred by the Great King. He wasn't a commoner who could be beaten up by anyone. Arba pursed her lips and mused for a long time. "Father, it's fine if you want to reason with the Zhou family, but you have to bring my mystic beast." Qiao Zhongbang immediately said, Ah, you want me to bring that green bird? No. Aber dragged Xiao Zhongbang and the others out the door, only to see a giant ape jump down from the roof and grin at them. Wei Ziqin jumped in fright and took a step back. What a giant ape! Mother, don't worry. It won't attack people. Aber patted the giant ape's head. Chapter 1199. Dad, bring my mystic beast to the Zhou family. Only then can I be at ease. Aber turned his head and stared at the giant ape solemnly as he instructed, I'll give you a chance to turn over a new leaf and protect my dad well. Xiao Zhongbang didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He stared at the giant ape and quickly said, If father brings such a big ape over, wouldn't the Zhou family think that father is here to fight when they see it? So be it. Aber said coldly, those two body cultivators nearly crippled second uncle, so it's reasonable to have the large ape beat them back. When Xiao Zhongbang heard this, it seemed to make sense, so he nodded and said, All right. Then you don't need to worry about this matter. Dad will be back soon. Seeing her husband leave with this group of people, Wei Ziqin was a bit worried. That Zhou family is so unreasonable. I don't know if your dad can handle them. Don't worry, Mom. With the large ape following him, nothing will happen. She knew this ape's strength too well. Normally, when she chased after it and beat it up, it was always the other way around. Otherwise, she definitely couldn't even touch its fur. Wei Ziqin nodded slightly. Then that's good. Daughter, are you still going out? Yes. Aber nodded. Second uncle and brother Xiao, whose injuries have more or less stabilized. They only need to take their daily medicine. When I come back in 4 days, they will be fine after I give them another acupuncture treatment. Seeing that she had already arranged everything, Wei Ziqin didn't say anything else and agreed. That night, Emolian and Aber brought the 3 little radishes to the House of Treasures auction house. HM? A maidservant with a long face exclaimed in confusion as she helped a frail and slender miss out of the carriage. What's wrong? Ian's hand that was holding up her skirt paused as she glanced at Su-er. I think I saw His Highness the Crown Prince. It can't be, right? Why would His Highness come here to join in the fun? Ian asked with a smile while shaking her head. The girl named Su-er laughed awkwardly. Maybe I saw wrongly. And then let's go in. I heard that this newly opened auction house will be auctioning off a high-grade life extension pill today. This time, I must obtain this life-prolonging pill at all costs. There were only 3 months left until the Empress Dowager's birthday. With this prolonging life pill, she would personally embroider 100 longevity painting, and everything would be complete. Yes. Su-er nodded. When the two of them turned around, they bumped into someone. When they looked up, they were met with a pair of enchanting phoenix eyes. Su-er couldn't help but open her mouth and let out a "ee" sound. What a dazzling beauty! She wore a purple dress that fluttered in the wind. Her neck was pink and her cheeks were jade-like. She seemed to be happy and angry at the same time. Anne was also slightly taken aback, feeling like she had seen this woman's pair of phoenix eyes before. Mississippi, a pretty maidservant with a round face holding a zither, walked to the beauty's side and glared at Su-er and Li Wuyo. What are you looking at? How rude. If you keep looking, I'll dig your eyes out. Why are you so fierce? It's not like we're looking at you. Su-er also scolded with a glare. What did you say? Don't you know who our miss is? You actually dare to be so impudent. Which household's dog are you from? Tell us your master's name. The round-faced maidservant had a sharp tongue. And which household's dog are you from? Tell us your master's name first. All right, Bao Yen. A low and gentle voice said, Don't be rude. Chapter 1200. Yes, Mississippi. The young maidservant holding the zither looked up at the purple-clothed beauty with an odd reverence and inexplicable adoration in her gaze. Su-er felt that the woman's gaze was a bit perverted, so she couldn't help but shudder. Judging from the two Mrs. Temperaments, you must be wealthy and respectable. This place is a jumble of good and bad people, so please be careful. The purple-clothed beauty gazed at them gently. Sue's small face reddened for no reason, and she said with a nod, "Thank you for the reminder, Mississippi. You are from the Mo Kingdom capital? I wonder which families Miss you are from. I don't seem to have seen you before." A trace of doubt flitted across Yan's eyes. It was no wonder that she was so curious. A beauty like this should have been known throughout the capital, and not unknown to the public. "Humph, our miss is Beijing Manor's young Madam Xian. What are you two waiting for? Don't block the way. What are you asking about?" Las Baoyan harumphed. "Beijing Manor?" Ian was taken aback. Could it be the Beijing Manor in Suiwei Mountain's carefree valley? The purple-clothed beauty nodded as she slowly revealed an otherworldly smile. Even as a woman, Ian felt that this young lady was unbelievably beautiful. Perhaps her facial features were not as outstanding as that stoic-faced young crown princess's, but this woman's untainted and otherworldly temperament made people yearn for her. "So it turns out that you are Beijing Manor's young madam. Greetings," Ian said with a faint smile. The more friends you had, the more options you had. Whether it was the family of a royal court official or a pugilist, there was nothing wrong with getting to know more people. "Humph, don't try to worm your way into being friends." Baoyan stood in front of the purple-clothed beauty. "You've said what you need to say and asked what you need to ask. Why are you still not leaving?" Ian and Sue couldn't help exchanging glances. Ian shook her head with a smile. "Why are you, little lass, so unreasonable?" "Humph. Don't think that I don't know what you are scheming. I'm telling you, don't have any improper thoughts about my miss." Baoyan. The purple-clothed beauty creased her brows. "What nonsense are you spouting? Don't be rude. Mississippi, I haven't left the valley for a long time. It's rare for me to meet two friends who I can talk to. I want to talk more. This request isn't too much, right?" The purple-clothed beauty stared at Baoyan and said coldly, "Yes." Baoyan pursed her lips, stomped her feet, and slowly retreated behind her. A thin cold light flashed through her eyes. "Gentlemen, I've booked a private room on the second floor. If you're willing, why don't you come in together?" When she looked into your eyes with a pleading expression, even if you were made of stone or wood, you couldn't bear to disobey her wishes. And pondered for a moment. When she recalled that she hadn't been able to book a private room today, it wasn't bad that there was a ready-made invitation for her. He nodded and said with a smile, "Thank you." The purple-clothed beauty seemed to be very happy. She waved her sleeve and made an inviting gesture. "Please." Baoyan followed behind the three of them. She pursed her lips and laughed sarcastically. These two women were really stupid. They couldn't even tell whether their young master was a man or a woman, yet they still wanted to be on good terms with Beijing Manor. What a joke. If it weren't for the fact that their young master felt that these two people were still a bit useful, he really wouldn't have paid attention to this idiotic master and servant. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.